Hello, welcome to Board Deck and Dice. I've been on a marathon recording session today, and sensibly I've left the rather light and completely straightforward Iberian rails till last. Let's take a look at how straightforward it is, and then we'll come back here and I'll tell you what I think. But not with that voice. Never with that voice. So this is Iberian rails. Now, due to space and some of the mechanisms of the game, I'm going to talk about the board first, and then I'm going to talk about the characters, which are really important. You have this map, it's double-sided, there's a map on the other side, with shares along the top and the bottom, and this dictates which company moves first. So yellow, brown, blue, green, red, white. At the start of the game, before the first play, you auction off one of each share, and this is important because players don't take control of these lovely wooden trains. They're the colours of the companies. Players actually are different colours, and they only take control of a train company if they are the CEO. So if they have the most shares, and there's not many on some, the yellow only has 3, and they're the shares that give the most back as well, then they're going to choose what the yellow company does. So it's perfectly feasible that one player is CEO of all the train companies and makes all the decisions. Not likely, but you know, it could happen. So during the course of the game, you'll be taking trains, putting them all out on spaces, trying to connect these gold places, which can give a bonus. One of 2 different colours of train can go on each spot, but you have to pay an occupancy fee, and you're trying to get a good presence on the board, linking a good amount of cities, because whenever you link a city, you can potentially get a big bonus from having those cities linked. So the game starts with an auction, and then each player will choose whether to each CEO will choose rather to build track by putting another train out, or to auction another share of that company. And depending on which type of auction that is, the money will either go to the company or straight to the CEO. So let's get rid of the board and show you how the character powers work. So here we have 6 characters laid out. There's loads more in the game. They have cards and these things that stay put, and they all have certain information on them. This is their track cost down here. So the tax collector, you can lay 1 track for 10, 2 tracks for 30, 3 tracks for 40, and so on. This is its special ability, and this is the type of auctions it can take. So this can do an open auction and a blind auction. Some only have 1 type of auction, and some have no auctions at all. So it's really varied. How players choose is they will choose which one they want, they will take the card, put it in front of them, and then everyone else will choose. But later on, how you've chosen will be affected by where you are in the order. So the first player will take theirs off before anyone else, so they will not be able to choose ghosts. So if you've chosen higher up earlier on, you've got to really think about which ones you're going to be able to choose, because if you choose one down here, you'll have more of a choice because everyone else will remove their pieces before you. So there is that. So let's look at some of the special powers on these ones. The hotelier lets you place 2 hotels out on the board, which give you scoring opportunities, and can do both auctions, and is reasonable, about so priced. The mafioso is really important because the mafioso lets you take control. You can pay a CEO to take control of their company for a turn. The more influence, the more cities that a railway company connects to, the more it costs the mafioso to do so. The venture capitalist gets, whenever they take a share, each company that they take the share from gets 25 pesos. The ghost doesn't have to pay occupation fees. The banker gets 10 immediately on their go. And the bureaucrat, each train station they own, each railway company they own gets 30 money. Now, that's important because to pay for a railway track, that always comes from the company, not from the CEO. So your money is not used to build the track. It has to be the train company money. So you want the train companies that you're CEO of to have lots of money. That's a real quick, probably terrible overview of how to play Iberian Rails. Iberian Rails is unlike any game I've played before. Because of that whole getting your head round, you are not in direct control of these things. To control the train companies, you must be CEO of that company, and to be CEO you must bid on and get their shares and have the most shares, and it's really, really unique, and therefore it's a real Marmite game. I really like it, but there are those in my game group who didn't like it, because that whole getting your head round the fact that you are out for yourself but also out for the train company that you have the most shares of, but you might not always have the most shares of it, along with the kind of presence on the board, just kind of was so new to people and so unusual that they struggled with it. Thinking about it now, it kind of reminds me of The King is Dead, where you're not controlling directly any of the three nations. You're kind of influencing them and you want to be in favour with them rather than control them. It's a bit like that, but this has got 6 railway companies, not just 3. So so it's a bit of a brain burner. I love the character selection, although I did end up wishing, because people can block you from the one you want, and they can do that in numerous rounds if you don't think about where that disc is going, and it's another element of brain burniness. And I just wished that that row of player characters was mobile somehow. Maybe they moved down and the one went to the front, so it was kind of constantly changing, so you weren't always going to be knocked out of that kind of round, or maybe that would just add too much brain burniness. I don't know. There just felt something there. You had to think very carefully about how that was going to move, and that did slow the game down a little bit, and that was one of the bits that people found most difficult. But yeah, I really like that you've kind of got your eye on every train company. There's some you know you're never going to get CEO of, so do you go mafioso for your own nefarious purposes, or do you just let them get on with it because they've got the 2 of the 3 shares already? Or do you think, right, I'll get in on that last share because that's going to earn me a load of money later in the game? I think it's a unique game. I think it's one that is perhaps harder to grasp than most games, but I really, really like it. So, intimidation factor, yeah, there is an intimidation factor on this one. The rules were... So yeah, there's the intimidation factor of, let's not go into rules yet, the intimidation factor of you not directly owning any of the things on the board, apart from maybe the hotels if you have the hotelier in play, which... No, you might not always have the hotelier in play, but so you are trying to manipulate everything else for your purposes, and the whole way these systems work is a little bit alien, or is a little bit thrown together from deeper mechanics, so it can be quite hard to get your head round. So there's definitely that kind of thinky layer to this game. Rulebook is okay. One of the other reviewers in Board Game Exposure hated the rulebook. I thought it was okay, did a fairly good job. I think I was still struggling from the concepts of the game rather than the rulebook doing a bad job. So I think it did as good a job as it could have done for me. But I certainly wouldn't be introducing this game to brand new board gamers. I would be waiting until I had a good grasp of track building games, of stock games, of games with shares in, and games with action selection where there's a chain, where you kind of can block people from choosing the same action, quasi worker placement like really. But I had a lot of fun playing this game. There was a lot of laughter, a lot of, you know, people would choose the mafioso and you'd be like, oh, they're going to take control of me this go and I won't get a go. Sometimes you'd have you'd be CEO of three, so you'd be like, yeah, I'm going to do this with that one, this with that one, this with that one. And that worked really well for you, but for everyone else, you know, they were limited in what they could do. I just had a lot of fun with it, and I think with the right group it would be really appreciated. Would I add it to my collection? Yes, with a caveat, and the caveat would be that I had people I could play it with, and that's my one big hesitation and probably my biggest negative with Iberian Rails, is I think you need a certain type of gamer to play it with, and I'm not sure that I have enough of those in my game group to guarantee it a place in my collection forever. That is Iberian Rails. Thanks very much for watching. I'll see you next time on Board, Deck and Dice.